Why do we feel it's necessary to yak about bullshit in order to be comfortable?
I don't know. That's a good question.
And I'm reluctantly your son.
You're my reluctant son in so many ways. So, well, according to the director of Andor, everybody's a reluctant child.
What?
We're gonna get into that because that guy's yeah. I think he's
Problematic.
yeah. I think he should stop giving interviews. If I was Disney, I'd be like, you cannot give interviews anymore. And it's not like Andor is a horrible show or anything like that. It's not like it's poorly. I mean, I enjoyed season 1. And season 2 just dropped its first 3 episodes, and there's only one thing we can talk about with season 2. We're going to get into it, but we got a few other things to talk about. We got Elon Musk going full WWE in the White House. We've got Zelensky apparently. I guess the U.S. is basically walking out of peace talks with Ukraine and saying, "The hell with you guys," and yeah, that bodes well. And Japan, if you pre-ordered your Nintendo Switch 2, you might not be getting it. And, of course, we're going to recap WrestleMania. You and I are wrestling fans. We're going to talk about it because The Rock went on Pat McAfee's show and kind of make an ass of himself, or kind of buried. No, he wasn't in character. He was Dwayne Johnson. He wasn't The Rock. He was Dwayne Johnson, board member, and I don't know. I think he could have handled it better, or at least he probably should have had somebody write him some talking points that made a little bit more sense. And
Right.
I don't know, it feels like there's an issue behind the scenes. But anyways, we're going to get to that. First off, welcome, like we said. And yes, I've watched the first 3 episodes of Andor Season 2. Some of it highly entertaining, some of it not very entertaining. And one snippet of it I never thought I'd see in Star Wars ever again. But we're going to let the director, creator, writer, Tony Gilroy, explain himself in an article from The Hollywood Reporter and go from there. Give him a chance, and then I'm going to tell you my own opinion on it. I've been an OG Star Wars fan since, really since the first film came out. I was just a wee little gringo, and saw that in theaters. And I think I got a right to speak my mind. I've been a Star Wars fanatic, and you've known this since you.
Yeah, I kind of grew up with it.
Yeah, you grew up with it. You were like, "What's wrong with my dad? Why does he collect all this stuff? And why does he keep watching the same movie over and over and over again?"
I love the movies, but I was going to sit there and be like, how does he know the lines?
Yeah, how does he know the lines, and how does he know all the accents, and just everything? Yep, and even sometimes I do little pew pew sounds in it. But yeah, but there we go. So let's get into it. Let's just get into it. It is what it is. We're gonna get into it. Okay, so if you didn't know, and we're gonna have to dance around this because there's a few words there. Well, there's the word right there. You can see it. I ain't gonna say it. I'm not saying it because I don't want the YouTube algorithm to go bad gringo. So, Bix Colleen, who you see here, the character Bix Colleen, played by Adria Arjona. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Nice actress. Seems to do well in the role.
Right.
Well, episode 1 and 2 focused on, well, she doesn't have a visa. And I'm not sure if this is all Trump related. It could be because, I mean, they made the series, it was produced, it was before he was really elected. Maybe they thought he was going to be elected, so they figured to do this.
But also, on top of that, I mean, they figured,
Yeah,
they knew what they were doing.
they knew what they're doing. So she does not have a visa. She's undocumented, along with with the rest of her party there on this planet, and they're doing basically harvesting work. They're basically migrant laborers and engineers that fix stuff. And okay, fine. Well, the Empire is cracking down, and so the Empire in the first 2 episodes of them worrying about the Empire showing up, asking for their visas, but if they don't have them, they get arrested and get sent off to a horrible, horrible place because it's the Empire. Well, one Imperial officer seems to take a kind of a shine to Bix in episode 2, asks her out to dinner. She lies and says her husband wouldn't like that, blah, blah, blah. All right, and, so he kind of goes away. And at the beginning of episode 1, she had like this dream where this guy was pulling her her blanket off of her as she slept. She woke up in a panic. I'm like, okay. There's a couple other little, like she says something to one of the other characters, like she says it very provocatively to this one male character. You thirsty? And I'm like, okay, all right, I get it. This is supposed to be a little bit of a more of adult Star Wars, but it's still Star Wars, okay? There should be a line that is not crossed, pretty much. But anyway, so let the thirst trap comment go. So, anyways, in episode 3, the Empire shows up. They've been turned over. They've been. There was a betrayal. So the Empire shows up, and she's off on her own in the fields at this one little trailer doing her work, all worried. And that same officer scumbag shows up and says to her, kind of tells her, a little quid pro quo. I don't have to arrest you. You don't have to. If you know what I mean. If it can all be so easy. The same. Just the bullshit. And then he proceeds to try and attempt to do what, yes, that word that you see on the screen says. And she ends up killing him. He doesn't, he's not successful, but that's, yeah, but the point is, I never thought in all my years and all my days that Star Wars would be a platform for this kind of, issue, all right? And I'm not saying it's not a worthy issue to be talked about. Listen, I am not saying that this is something that shouldn't be talked about or explained or fought against or rallied against. I'm not saying we should ignore this issue. What I'm saying is it doesn't belong in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's very, it's kind of out there. Like, of course, it probably exists in the universe.
Yeah.
But it's not something you draw attention to.
Well, yeah.
Like,
yeah, well,
because it's also for kids. Because this is on Disney Plus. Kids are gonna watch this.
This is supposed to.
Parents are gonna think, oh, this is a good show to watch, maybe with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
They think it's probably a little more adult because there's shooting with lasers, of course,
I mean, well, he beats the out of her.
Yeah.
Before while trying to do it. So, all right. So here's Tony Gilroy, the creator of Andor, the guy who wrote the script. He actually directed this 3rd episode. And he goes, shying away from essay didn't feel truthful. Okay.
What?
Quote, I get one shot to tell everything I know or can discover or that I've learned about revolution, about battles, with as many incidents and as many colors as I can get in there without having the story tip over. I mean, let's be honest, man. The history of civilization, there's a huge arterial component of it. That's our word. All right. All of us who are here, we are all the product of our word. I'm going to say ripe. We're going to say ripe instead, okay? All of us who are here, we are all the product of ripe. I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
I didn't know that. I also didn't know this thing, I think, either died or turned itself off. So when I was speaking, I don't think it was picking it up.
Yeah, so... Oh.
I just turned it back on.
Oh, okay.
It must have turned itself
off.
off.
It probably cut up here.
Hopefully. We'll see.
So I'm sorry that Tony Gilroy believes that you, my son, are a product of ripe.
What?
Yep.
How? Wait,
all of civil. I mean, armies in power throughout history have committed ripe. So to not touch on it in some way, it just was organic and it felt right, coming about as a power trip for this guy. I was really trying to make a path for Bix that would ultimately lead to clarity, but a difficult path to get back to clarity.
Didn't need it.
Listen. Let's break down what he has to say. The history of civilization. Yes, there is a huge arterial component of it. Yes, there are many instances over and over and over again conquering armies and they take the women and blah, 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 all that. I get that. Okay? I get that. You are not wrong. That is not an untruthful statement that he's making.
No.
Okay? All right. Still, it doesn't belong in Star Wars. It just doesn't. It does not. All right? The fact that you wanted to touch on it and you felt like this was the story to tell it in, no, you could have gone and done a documentary. You could have done something else. And by the way, if people, again, if you look at what's going on in the southern border over the past 5 years, the women who were being assaulted or harmed, it wasn't coming from the big bad empire, which would be the United States, right? It wouldn't be from Border Patrol. It'd be from the people that they were with. Okay, so I don't know. There's so many different ways to look at this. It just doesn't belong there. You could have done a whole documentary on what's been going on in this country at that southern border if you really wanted to make this an issue. You could have been doing a documentary on the history of what the Ottoman Empire did when it raided Italy and why Sicilians aren't white, they're kind of brown, right? There's a reason for that, okay? You could have done you could have done a ton of different stuff, but you wanted to put it in Star Wars. It just doesn't belong in Star Wars, okay? So, and the fact, by the way, I do disagree with the fact, with what he says. We are all not the product of ripe, okay? No, we are not. That is where he turns into idiot, okay? He has a truthful statement about the history of civilization followed up by a totally
absurd
statement. Absurd statement that we are, all right, so we're all products of unconsensual, non-consensual relations. Is that the case? All right, that to me, again, it's insulting to me because you're telling me that my kid, like I did that to my wife to get my 2 kids.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure if I go ask her, she was all in on it. I'm pretty sure she was all for it. She was down with the program. She was actually, I'm pretty sure she was running that program.
Wow.
To be honest with you, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people would say the same thing. But to call every child or every person born a product of this violent act is a stupid statement.
Oh yeah,
It's just a stupid statement. So, and by the way, yeah, so here's some fan reaction. Quote, I don't want to see ripe in Star Wars. You can portray power dynamics and making the audience hate the Empire in other ways without taking it to such a disgusting place. I agree with that.
Right.
Vader wouldn't tolerate that shit, nor does the Empire condone it. I'm not sure where they're getting that. I don't think Vader would condone it, actually.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Vader wouldn't condone it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not going to condone that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about the Emperor, but it has no place in Star Wars, period. I agree with that. Another pop culture fan account wrote, I don't mind having mature Star Wars, but I'm not okay with it going so far as depicting an attempted rape or saying the word rape, because they actually say it. The character actually yells out.
He tried to.
He tried to, do this.
We're not going to say the word.
You're not going to say the word. I'm actually quite disgusted with the Andor series right now. While another fan fiction fan account was praised the move.
Fan fiction?
Not
what?
fan fiction, sorry, I got that right.
Yes.
While another fan account was one of the many that praised the move. Andor dared to go to the darkest places Star Wars could offer. Okay, but that's not the point. They shouldn't dare to go to the darkest. Star Wars is not about going to the absolute darkest places. Star Wars is the ultimate escape. Star Wars is something that should be enjoyed by everybody. It doesn't need to include this. It's just certain things. Not everything needs to include every goddamn social message in the world, including this one. All right? An Imperial officer abusing his untouchable status to rape an undocumented migrant while his troops are rounding up other undocumented citizens. This is the real world seeping into Star Wars storytelling. No, it's not.
No.
Again,
no cases of this.
Yeah.
No
cases. The Border Patrol is not doing that to the migrants they're rounding up. ICE is not doing that to the illegal undocumented citizens, criminals that they're rounding up right now. The people who did that to these undocumented citizens are the cartels and the people below the border who are facilitating those crimes as these women, and there are many stories, and they're horrific. And I've seen them, and you don't get, I live in Mexico, so I get to see the news down here unfiltered, where the United States doesn't get that unfiltered news because, be honest with you, Americans are too much of a P word to really understand and take that real news. The women, young girls, young boys, women in general are they're absolutely brutalized on their way up, wherever they're coming from, to that southern border. They're absolutely brutalized in ways in which I will not talk about on this channel. It's disgusting. It needs to stop. And that's why, people want to stop this, to stop this kind of thing. It's absolutely horrible.
Just not even. I get, you want to make the Empire look bad and evil and the people who work for them? Sure, you can do that.
Yeah.
There are better ways to do that.
Yeah. They're talking about, one of the fan accounts said, well, we had Princess Leia on a leash and her famous slave Leia bikini. Okay, Return of the Jedi being a key example. Yeah, but I don't.
Nothing was implied.
Nothing was played that the Jabba the Hutt, Godzilla tailed her. All right.
Wow.
It just didn't need to be there. It didn't need to be there. It was, and you know what? This account gets it right. She played it brilliantly, and it was heartbreaking to watch, and it was great acting, but it just didn't need to be in Star Wars. I have absolutely no complaint about how it was acted. I have no complaint how it was shot, or artistically, or the set design, or the production values, or whatnot. Absolutely nothing to say about that, other than that they did a really good job with everything in the producing of the film. It's the narrative.
Right.
It's the narrative. And again, there's plenty of other platforms and outlets in which to.
Do you want to do a story on this topic? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Not the platform for it. Plus, I mean, kids are going to watch this.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't know that this is in this unless you read the news.
Yeah.
And people don't want to do that because they don't want to spoil the series for them.
Yeah. So that's how I feel as an OG Star Wars fan. It's just unnecessary, inappropriate, and
Rubs you the wrong way.
Rubs me the wrong way. Makes me go, okay. I don't know
Don't
if I
worry,
really,
yeah.
I don't
You
know if
don't
I want to
want it?
watch the rest of the episode, watch the rest of the season. I just don't. I don't know. And apparently, they asked Tony Gilroy, did anybody give you any pushback at Disney? He's like, nope, absolutely not. Everybody at Disney was fine with this. Kathleen Kennedy on down to Bob Iger, or Bob Iger down to Kathleen Kennedy. Everybody was fine with this. They knew what was in there. They knew what was going to happen. They knew what was going to be. And you know what? Maybe this is a case of, I look at this, Eric Bischoff, famous wrestling producer back in the 90s, and he has a podcast now, once wrote a book called Controversy Means Cash. And yes, Star Wars is not making cash. Maybe this is, like they said, we need a little controversy to get some eyeballs on it. I don't know how well this is going to do to get more eyeballs on this series. Again, it was the lowest rated series, Andor season 1, as far as viewership was concerned. It's probably the most popular or well received for those who've seen it, and it should be. It is the best Star Wars. Andor season 1 is the best thing Star Wars Disney ever produced, period, in my opinion. Okay, so season 2, they're looking to maybe bulk it up because they just had Celebration. No one really talked about Celebration in Japan.
Yeah, Celebration just happened.
Yeah, because there was nothing to talk about. People were mocking the Grogu and Mandalorian trailer that was leaked, and now you can't find it online. People were mocking that.
Really?
Yeah, they're saying it didn't look like, And then people were like, there was nothing exciting to get excited about coming out of Celebration. And we're coming up on May the 4th, Star Wars Day, so we'll see.
Yeah, we're going to have to see. I mean, this is starting to get kind of iffy.
Yeah.
Right? Am I not wrong?
Yeah. So I just, after watching episode 3 and after seeing it, I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch the rest of it. I don't know. It just kind of made me go, okay, this isn't Star Wars. I'm tired of having things
shoved down your throat.
Not just that, but just Disney Star Wars has just strayed so far from the path of what Star Wars really is, and I don't know. I don't know how many more hits I can take, how many more body blows I can take as a Star Wars fan. That's how I feel about that. Let us know in the comment section how you feel about that. If you've seen this episode, or if you haven't seen this episode, what I just described to you, I didn't embellish it.
No,
I gave it to you as it is. If you want to skip ahead, episode 3, season 2 of Andor, the last 20 minutes, you'll see what I'm talking about. And yeah,
that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not too much. I mean, it's kind of just shocking that they threw it in there.
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, well, on to something different.
A little more. Well, I would say it's more happy, but I don't know about this.
All right, listen. There's a lot of Elon Musk fans out there. I kind of like Elon Musk. He seems like an interesting dude. I think he's out of his tree right now. I think he's losing his mind.
I think if you were body slamming the treasurer, well, he didn't do it, but he almost did.
Okay, I'm going to get into this. Okay, so Elon Musk, who we see pictured here, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, as we see here, 2 billionaires, right? We got 2 billionaires.
Right.
Erupted into a West Wing shouting match. Not just a shouting match, but it's described that the two, at multiple times, went chest to chest, screaming at each other while outside the Oval Office. And apparently President Trump heard it, and he was just sticking his head out the door, and he's like, hey, what's going on out here? And Trump, being Trump, is like, this is cool.
What? This sells tickets to what?
Okay, so Elon Musk and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent got into a heated shouting match in earshot of President Trump and other officials in the White House last week during a dispute about the IRS. 2 witnesses and 3 sources briefed on the matter tell Axios. This is not a secret. This is not fake news. This has been reported by multiple outlets and then obviously not denied by the White House press secretary, which we'll get into her statement in a minute.
It sounds like it's just been kind of leaked out there. I don't know who's giving this information out.
So here we go. It was 2 billionaire middle-aged men thinking it was WWE in the hall of the West Wing. One witness said in an argument last Thursday. Of course, Bessent is not a billionaire. He's worth $520 million. Poor him. All right, why it meant the clash, while both men in each other's faces, showed how much Musk's personality and style have rankled some senior administration officials since he began running roughshod through agencies with Doge. Okay, yeah, he's ruffling some feathers, and I'm fine with him ruffling some feathers, but there's got to be decorum. All right, we can't have this. This we can't have.
Yeah, we can have WWE going on in our White House.
Yeah, we just had drool time at the retirement home for 4 years where no one knew who the hell was in charge, what was going on, who was running things. Now we have chaos in the asylum, and it looks like the inmates are running the asylum.
This is turned to Arkham a little bit.
Yeah.
We got a billionaire running around. Well, actually, 2 billionaires.
Yeah, and it's over who would lead the IRS. But the chest-to-chest clash between the 2 men a day earlier has not been previously reported. They were not physical in the Oval, but the president saw it, and then they carried it down the hall, and that's when they did it again. So they would just go in.
Oh, so they're like, oh, the president's looking at us. Yeah. Oh, we'll move down the hall real quickly.
It was quite a scene. It was loud, and I mean loud, one other witness said. Asked about the shouting match, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt referred to comments she made to the Times about how, quote, it's no secret President Trump has put together a team of people who are incredibly passionate about the issues impacting our country. I get that. We can all be passionate. We should not be shouting each other's faces chest to chest over who's going to run the IRS. That's not something I would think that you would get that passionate about, okay? She goes, disagreements are a normal part of any healthy policy process. Yes, it is, her statement said. And ultimately, everyone knows they serve at the pleasure of President Trump. Okay.
Okay.
All right, we get that. But apparently President Trump's okay. Like, the president should have stepped in and been like, shut up. It's the freaking West Wing.
This is the West Wing. I mean, this is like, we have real shit going on here, people.
Oh, my God.
But let's yell in the hallway about the IRS.
Well, apparently, okay. So Musk has had high-profile disputes with Marco Rubio, Secretary of State,
right?
Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary, and Trade Advisor Pete Navarro, who's like basically the head trade advisor. Everyone thinks Doge is great, but Elon's antics are just a bit much, another administration official said. He is a little bit of he's kind of clownish when he gets behind closed doors, and I think he's just, I think he's got this air of like, the president listens to me, he likes me, and there's not going to be a problem, and I can do what I want. It's like
a little dangerous.
It's quite dangerous. And I think for some reason Trump is hesitant to not scold him or kind of rein him in, I guess, because he doesn't want to lose him. Because Musk could just walk out and go, I don't need this. I mean, he's going to have to walk out. Did you see Tesla's quarterly earnings?
Yeah, it's down. Bad.
71%. Down. So is he even the richest man in the world anymore?
I think he still is.
So, I mean, not that it matters. Richest man in the world, third richest man in the world. I guess once you get into the top 20, I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
you're fine.
It matters to them, all right?
I mean, ego. That's just a battle of ego, essentially.
Yeah. It wasn't a fight about right or wrong. It was about control. And that's the problem, right? That's the big problem. It shouldn't be about control because in 4 years, you ain't going to have control over nothing. Control switches to another person, okay? So it should be about right or wrong. It should be.
So is he overstepping his boundaries? Probably.
I think if you get in the face of Secretary of State Marco Rubio, you are overstepping your boundaries.
That poor guy has had enough to deal with already.
Or any cabinet secretary. Any cabinet secretary, you should treat them with respect. They are representatives of the president. They are doing what they think the president wants them to do. Just going forward. All right, so
the only person he probably can't yell at is Vance.
Yeah,
looks like because everyone else he's argued with, but he's not argued with Vance.
Vance will knock him out.
Well, Vance won't put up with that shit, and Trump will stand behind Vance because it has to.
Vance is the bulldog. Like I would. Honestly, I'd rather argue with Trump than argue with Vance. I'd rather get into a shouting match with Trump than get into a shouting match because honestly, Trump might call me a few names. Vance, that guy's an intelligent man. He'd probably shred my argument in a minute, whatever my argument was, even if I was right or wrong. So
Dude, how do you think Vance feels? He saw the Pope the next day after seeing him? Bad. You know what's
Yeah.
funny? He jinxed it, though. You're completely off topic. He said, I'm glad to see you in good health,
Oh,
Holy
God.
Father. Several hours later, he has passed away.
It's the Republicans' fault the Pope is dead.
There are memes about that going
Oh,
around.
God. Oh,
It's
God.
bad. People are like, imagine that's the last thing you see before you disappear.
Okay, here we go. The argument was so heated that an aide stepped in between the two men to separate them.
Dude, that's rough for an aide to have to do. Because the aides were thinking, I'm going to lose my job.
Oh, my God.
My concern would be job security there. I'm like, I'm just an aide. I don't get paid enough for this shit.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. So something's going to be done. This is becoming circus-like, and it's not, sooner or later, the American public is going to go, yeah, we thought it was a good idea, but this is making us look like buffoons. We don't want to look like buffoons. And this is where you start to see cracks in the Trump administration. And really, what the Democrats need to do is just sit back and watch it happen.
Yeah.
Just sit back and go, all right.
The problem is they keep trying to do too much.
Yeah, they keep trying to do something.
When they really don't need to do something at times.
No.
Sometimes the best thing you can do is nothing.
Yeah,
You know, less is more.
yeah.
I mean, we talked about the Department of State,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
That's something, not Department of State, Department of Education, sorry.
Department of Education, yeah.
That's the only thing they should be doing something about.
Yeah.
And drawing attention to.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. So,
Wow.
Elon Musk causing problems. So, I don't know how much, if his stock is crashing 71%, I don't know how much longer he's going to stay in Doge. He might just walk away and say somebody else can handle it. I've set it up. I can walk away. I'll be an advisor on the sidelines. And I think that's, honestly, that might be the best thing that can happen right now. I'm
Probably.
not saying Doge needs to stop doing what it's doing.
Doge is doing a good thing.
He's doing a good thing. But I think it's being led in a bad way right now.
Yeah.
A bad way. All right. Speaking of bad ways and being led into bad ways, Trump has now blamed Zelensky as Ukraine peace talks stumble. Folks, they haven't stumbled. They've fallen apart. Okay?
Stumble.
They've,
Just a tad bit of a stumble.
Meanwhile,
Off the cliff
Yeah.
and falling into the abyss,
Yep.
the peace deal.
Yep, here we go. Vance, U.S. will walk away if Ukraine-Russia peace deal isn't reached. So basically, the U.S. is basically saying to Zelensky, we're going to walk away and let Russia run all over you. That is basically what they're telling Zelensky. Because Russia don't care if the U.S. walks away from this peace deal or peace talks.
Ukraine does.
Ukraine needs it, right? It's all about Crimea, too. All right? Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky failed to accept a U.S. peace plan. So what was this U.S. peace plan?
Was it fair?
Was it fair? It was in Washington legally Washington legally recognized Russian sovereignty over the Crimean Peninsula, which Russia has occupied illegally since 2014.
Yeah, I don't know if we can really do that.
So, look, Russia's not going to just walk away with this with nothing,
Right.
and that's the reality. I think they don't deserve a thing. I think they are the aggressors. But short of the United States going in there and blowing those commie bastards out ourselves, they ain't going nowhere
No.
until they get something. Vladimir Putin is not going nowhere unless the good Lord himself decides to take him. That's
Which
it.
if that happens, then they might have to withdraw.
If that happens, it'll be all chaos in Russia.
Hear me out. CIA, you have a new job.
Good job. The CIA's got plans already in place for that. They're
Yeah.
like,
They're just like the eager dog that wants to be let out of the cage. And they're like, no, you stay in the cage.
stay in the cage.
You've done too much.
Yeah.
You tried too much. Let's not talk about Castro.
Yeah. So Trump criticized Zelensky for his comments, pointing out that Ukraine itself wasn't being asked to recognize Crimea as Russian.
Yeah, but we would be recognizing it,
We would be recognized.
which is worth a hell of a lot more
yeah.
than Ukraine's.
So it's inflammatory statements like Zelensky's that makes it so difficult to settle this war, the U.S. president wrote on social media, adding that the Ukrainian leader had to choose peace now or risk losing his entire country in 3 years' time. Oh, dear God.
This has just become. I don't know. I don't really blame Ukraine on this one right now.
All right. I don't blame Ukraine. I don't blame Ukraine.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, this is the reality of the situation. And like I said,
You know, what I would do is I'd say this, listen, I want the peninsula back.
okay.
I'll give you the Donbass region, which is the region they've been fighting in. The problem is it's like, okay, you're swapping one huge piece of land because Crimea is way bigger and the Donbass is smaller. But the Donbass has the ethnic Russian minority.
It is, but still,
which is still obviously you're giving up land and you don't want to do that. But I'd rather keep the peninsula.
it's saying to Russia they can invade a country and take something
Yeah, that's the other problem.
without provocation, you know,
And real consequences outside the lives they've lost, which it's Russia. They kind of created the whole mass wave idea of like, we have more people than they have bullets. Just go.
Yeah. So Ukrainian officials said they are worried that Trump, who said he doesn't like Zelensky, Trump doesn't like Zelensky.
No shit.
All right. He doesn't
That's
like
great.
Zelensky.
Great insight.
I don't think Zelensky likes Trump either. So anyways, Trump might blame Kiev for a breakdown in talks and refuse to provide further military aid. If that happens, if Europe is going to have to step, here's what's going to have to happen. If the U.S. walks, you're going to have to see every European nation send troops.
Which Britain has already said they will.
Yep. And the fact is, if that happens and Russia doesn't pull out and Russia actually kills a soldier of a NATO country, does that trip Article 5?
Yeah, it does.
And will Trump
Honor it.
honor it? I don't think he does.
No, I don't think he does. Which is
Nope.
I think that's the end of NATO.
Nope.
And you'll have Congress force force his hand.
Well, Congress will declare war.
Yeah, Congress will declare
Well,
war.
I don't know if the Republicans will do
Yes, listen, Congress.
that. I don't know if
Yes,
the Republicans.
they like Trump and they're gonna let Trump run it his way for the most part right now. But if it gets to that point, they would go up to Trump and be like, "Listen, we're Congress. We're gonna do what we need to do because if you take the action that you want to take, you will damage our international position forever.
Yep.
It'll be irreversible. You'll have to, as a Congress, come together and be like, we got to go."
Okay. The peace framework presented last week. Let me see. I'm going to ask you if this is fair or not. Okay. Let me finish the whole thing, and I really want your opinion because you lived in Europe. You know.
I know the case very well.
Okay. The peace framework presented last week would allow Russia
Okay.
to keep most of the territory it captured over the last decade of war with Ukraine in return for freezing the conflict along current lines. The U.S. would then legally recognize Russia's 2014 annexation of Crimea, and Ukraine would have to give up on aspirations to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Ukraine
Yeah.
would join NATO.
They would have to give up on their hope.
Oh.
They would never be able to join NATO.
Oh, well, is that the whole deal?
That's pretty much the framework.
Dude, that's a shitty deal.
That is a shitty.
Dude, because let me show you here the
deal.
map. This is the current map pretty much right now.
Yeah.
Where the red is everything occupied by Russia. First of all, that whole southern region, even though it's small, this whole part, I know for a fact, right above the Crimean Peninsula, extremely rich in rare earth minerals.
Yeah.
Extremely rich. Because all out here
That's
is
what
all
Trump
agriculture.
wants. I'm telling you, there's a backdoor deal between Trump and Putin,
Yeah, they already made it. They already announced it.
and
They're not hiding
they
it.
want to screw Ukraine so we can get the mineral deal. That's what they want. That's what Trump wants.
Because he was going to do the deal with Ukraine for the mineral deal, and that didn't go through.
Yep. It was framed as a take it or leave it moment. Oh my God.
Here's the problem you run into is also this. I mean, that means they get the Crimean Peninsula, right? They keep everything they have right now.
Yeah.
You would have a demilitarized zone along the battle lines.
Yeah. I do not agree with anything the U.S. is doing in their peace negotiations right now.
Is that in the article, or is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that.
Yeah,
I cannot agree with this. The Ukraine was attacked.
Dude, this
They
is a
were
mugging.
invaded. They're being mugged. They're being mugged.
No. Okay, the war is not, again. The war is a mugging, but this deal is like more of a mugging than the war.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this deal is horrendous. Why on earth would you ever make this deal?
Most analysts contend that the current terms are far better deal for Russia than Ukraine. You don't need to be an analyst to come to that term.
Yeah,
to
you
come
have
to that
just
conclusion.
look at the fucking map. They lose
Holy
like
shit!
They lose like 15 to 20% of their country. Actually, it looks like 20% actually. God damn.
Without any real pressure, the Russians are not budging and playing for time, and they are getting what they want. A U.S. that is so frustrated with the negotiations that they seem to just want Ukraine to say yes to accepting Russia's maximalist demands, said the president and chief executive of the Center for European Policy Analysis, Alina Polyakova, a Washington think tank. If the U.S. gives up and moves on, the Russians would consider this a win. Of course they do.
Because then they'd be able to force whatever they want.
Of course they would, right? And the problem is Trump, his ego, He's like, remember when he said, once I'm elected, I'll have a peace deal in 24 hours, and war will be over. Well, guess what? It's been way more than 24 hours, and he came in and he's like, oh, people aren't just going to do what I tell them to do? Oh, Ukraine isn't just going to give up a third or 25% of their country?
Yeah, it looks like 20 to 25% of the country. I think
because
20%,
they tell them to do?
but
It's like,
still.
oh, people are really attached to keeping their country and not being invaded?
And I don't know, maybe a huge chunk of their
Yeah.
economic industry,
Yeah.
minerals, rare earth minerals, which outside of Russia and China are hard to get because we don't mine them in our country, even though we do have them.
Yeah.
Because they're all under national parks, which we love very much.
Yeah.
And we're very happy to keep the national parks.
Okay, even before Wednesday's talks, the French and Germans said they would not send their foreign ministers to the meeting, leading to questions within the Trump administration about whether the conversation rose to Rubio's level. Ukraine-Russia talks also hadn't advanced far enough since a meeting in Paris last week, U.S. and European officials said, as Russia's willingness to earnestly negotiate remained an open question. So this hasn't even reached the level of foreign ministers yet, which this should be at the level of, screw the low-level people.
They have the low-level people because the whole idea is to get the low-level people talking. It shows willingness you know what I mean? You don't get the foreign officials in that room. International affairs is a weird dance, right? You get the foreign officials in that room without any basis or an idea of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time. It's a failure. It makes your country look bad. You know what I mean?
It does.
On both sides.
It does, but at
So-
some point in time, you got to get the big guys in the room and just say,
I'm just
do you think
surprised-
you'll ever see Zelensky and Putin in the same room?
I think you will see that one day. They'll
think so?
they'll sign a deal.
Will it be in Moscow? Because I don't
God,
think,
no.
I don't think Putin's leaving Russia.
It'll be in either Belarus or somewhere else where Putin will not be as in danger. They could do it in Turkey because Turkey won't arrest him. Istanbul.
Yeah.
Istanbul is not a bad one.
But that's I think security concerns in Istanbul right now. would
No, 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 no. Trust me. You have the Russians, the Americans, and the Ukrainians all there, and probably all the other Europeans. That city would be locked down crazier than you imagine because you'd have the Russian Navy from the Baltic, not the Baltic, from the Black Sea,
Yeah.
also there, and all the European navies and like from the Mediterranean entering through the other side,
See, what I think Trump is hoping is
trying to force Zelensky into a bad deal.
Yeah, well, I think he's trying to force Zelensky to come back and listen. The U.S. can have exclusive mineral rights to all of Ukraine. I just want all my territory back. All right, and that way, I think that's what Trump is hoping, so he can go strong arm Putin and say,
We're gonna put troops in if
we're
you
going to
don't.
put troops in if you don't get out. Because if you have American companies over there mining, and all of a sudden they get blown up by Russian
That's
troops,
not just an international incident. That's just a provocation for war.
that's just that's
There's no like way you can tell Congress, guys, it was an accident.
Yeah.
We don't have to go to war. They're gonna be like, no, this is war.
yeah. Then we're in it. Then we're in it.
Because I mean, the other thing we love more than our minerals and our boats, we're a little weird with our boats. Are rocks.
Yeah,
Love rocks.
we love rocks.
God, we sound like a special country.
Yeah, rocks,
Rocks, boats, and oil.
and oil. Nice. Okay.
Shiny rocks,
Shiny rocks and oil.
oil, and boats.
Oh boy, dear God.
Oh, God.
But I think that's
Next is gonna be trains.
Yeah, that's what I think is happening, and I think that's where it's going to go. But let us know in the comment section how you feel about this. Do you even care about Ukraine? Do you think we should even care about Ukraine, or do you think it matters at all anymore at this point? And what do you think should happen going forward? But let us know.
Yeah, that's no.
But yeah, thanks for the analysis. I appreciate that, Mike. International relations undergraduate bachelor's guy.
You're kind of a bit of an expert on this shit.
Kind of a little bit, yeah.
Kind of a bit.
Kind of had to go through that. Okay. All right. Some lighthearted news. Unless you're in Japan and you ordered the Switch. Nintendo issues Switch 2 supply warning in Japan.
Oh, God.
2.2 million people have applied to buy the new console in Japan so far, which far exceeds Nintendo's expectations. You think?
Nintendo's like, we don't have the factories pumping out this much.
All right. Shortages of the Switch 2 look increasingly likely after Nintendo admitted today that it cannot fulfill all of the pre-order applications it has already received through its own Japanese store. In a statement on X via Nintendo's Japanese account, President Shintaro Furukawa confirmed that the company's storefront has received 2.2 million applications to pre-order the new console in Japan alone. That's a number that far exceeds our expectations and far exceeds the number of Nintendo Switch 2 consoles that can be delivered from the My Nintendo store on June 5th. It's a logistical nightmare. It can't be done.
Can't be done in Japan.
I mean, honest to God, you know what they would need to do? They would need to call up Apple and go, how do you do this?
Uh-oh.
Oh, take goes our dog. Our dog is in here, by the way, Caesar. They've never seen him.
They've never seen him.
He doesn't like thunder, lightning, or rain, so he kind of hides. He was hiding under the desk. Now he's
I just like how he started to pull the cords, and I have to. Just
he's
hold
walking all through our cords and our electrical.
Dude, you almost
wiring.
pulled your phone down.
So yeah.
No, leave him here. He's fine.
So here's mommy.
He's not gonna
again.
move. He's not gonna move anyways.
Oh,
he got up to look at
He's
her.
like, the hell with that. I'm staying right here in my corner. All right. Listen, they would have to call up. If there's a company that knows how to do this logistically, think about the iPhone. Think of how many iPhones we had to,
Apple.
Apple.
I bet they're calling Apple being like, okay,
How do you do this?
how do you do this?
Yeah,
Because the last time they had something like this happen was with the Wii. Remember when the Wii came out?
Yep.
Remember how crazy it was?
Yeah.
Dude, I love the Wii. The
I
Wii,
mean,
missed the
I
Wii.
had to work
Damn.
at headquarters for the original watch launch, and that was crazy. So the logistics there. I've had to deal with logistics on a southern U.S. basis and help districts and whatnot with their logistics. And you think about how many phones are coming in, how many phones need to be right? And this is just how many versions of the Switch 2 are there? Like a pro version, a not pro version?
I think there's just right now a basic version, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so you're dealing with just one product.
I could be wrong.
All right, let's just say that you're just dealing with one product. They've got to get their logistics in place, and they should have anticipated this. I could have told them they were going to get over 2 million.
Well, that's just in Japan alone.
Yeah.
Well, pre-orders, I don't think so. With 3 versions. There's a standard gray model, a white model, and a special edition console
Okay.
themed
so there's
after a
3.
specific game. I don't know what the game is. Okay.
Okay, so the original Switch sold in its first month in Japan 360,000 units. So Nintendo is seeing 6 times the demands for its sequel. That's crazy. But you got to scale up, baby. You're the Japanese. You're Six Sigma. That
Well,
bitch.
they don't. They usually think that what ends up happening is at launch they don't sell as much, and over time it like grows. But there's so much hype built around
Yeah,
it.
not this.
Well, the games that they're coming out, I don't know why they didn't think that. I mean, they have a new Pokemon game that's going to come out on this console. They have a new Mario Kart. People are very excited for that. And a couple other series like Tamagotchi comes back after, I think, 10, 13 years.
Yeah.
There's a new Kirby game that's going to be on it, which hasn't come out in like 15 years, 20
Your
years.
brother's thinking about getting it. I was thinking of getting it. I'm not sure
I
yet.
think I'm going to get one.
I think I
might
kind
get
of take a
one.
look at it. Okay, so all right, here we go. This is what's fun. Furukawa said didn't say how many consoles Nintendo has ready for the launch. That's an important number.
That's
But
a
only
very
that
important number.
but only that a significant number of customers won't be lucky in the My Nintendo Store lottery.
That's only like a
Those
third.
those who don't get a console will be automatically re-entered into a second lottery. While third-party retailers in Japan will begin taking pre-orders tomorrow, April 24th. In Japan, Nintendo is offering 2 versions of the Switch to a Japanese-only model for, I don't know, what, $350 or 50,000 yen, and a 70,000 yen or $500 multilingual version, which is exclusively available through the My Nintendo Store. U.S. pre-orders open for tomorrow at $450 following an initial delay over tariff concerns. Really, is it tomorrow? How late is this article? How early is it? April 23rd. All right,
That's
so
tomorrow.
Hey,
maybe I withdraw some money.
maybe
and,
midnight
put it in.
tonight we pull out that credit card and cha-ching! Maybe?
Maybe you mean maybe I, get
Well, wait a minute.
myself
We don't
one.
have a real address. How do we get the thing
No,
delivered?
we do have a real address. We just did ask.
I don't know if I trust the Mexican post office to deliver that thing.
I really don't, but we can always file a
But
thing.
we're in Mexico. How can we do a U.S. order?
You can do an order.
Aha! No, we can't send it to the other boy because he can't get it over the border to us. Thinking.
I think you can get it in a meeting. Okay, you get like a.
Dude, should we live stream it when it goes live for like the pre-orders and just see how hard it is to get in?
That'd be funny, actually.
I think that's what we're gonna do. So
What would that be? Tomorrow?
U.S. pre-orders open tomorrow. Let's see here. Hold on.
What do you mean, like midnight tonight, or like?
I think midnight tonight.
Oh,
All right.
not very possible.
April 24th. It doesn't give a time.
Well, that's American pre-orders. We're not in America,
That's what I'm saying.
so I don't know if that really works.
But I'm an American. I have a VPN. Ah.
You get. We'll see.
You know what? We order it as an American. We have it shipped to your brother. We tell him he needs to take a couple of personal days and buy a plane ticket and fly his ass down here.
It's not a bad idea. Well, that comes out in like November.
Is it November?
or June? When does it come out?
I thought it comes out in June.
I think it's June. You're right. I think it's June.
And again, I mean, what are the chances you get a Nintendo Switch 2? You walk through Liverpool or Sanborns and they have a Nintendo Switch 2 sitting on the shelf.
Here's the problem, though. You know, they might take it away from him
Oh yeah, they would take it away from him.
because it's a brand new one.
These fucking tariffs. All right. Well, anyways, yeah, I think we're gonna yeah. All right, we're gonna have to set an alarm. We're gonna have to remember this shit. So wait a minute. Midnight Eastern United States would be 10 p.m. here.
We might do this.
Okay. Interesting. We're gonna have to do this. Yeah, I know. Yes, you do. But there's plenty of rooms in the house.
That's fair.
Okay. All right. Whew.
I think I'd want the white version. I think the white is kind of clean.
Why you gotta be white? Why?
Well, the black is nice because it's just nice, but it's also like, you know, the white looks nice. Pops, it has
I
color.
haven't seen it. Let me see. You got a picture of it?
Here, I got
Let me see.
one of the pictures here.
Maybe. Wait.
Oh, there's also supposed to be a new Super Mario Galaxy game apparently on it, which I haven't seen a game for that since like 2011, 2012.
Yeah, looks cool.
I like it.
Looks nice. Different.
The color pops.
Yeah.
The gray is nice too. It's just, you know, something nice. Something that pops.
But really, what are the chances on June 5th you walk into a store down here and you're gonna find this?
I think there's actually some good chances down here.
You think?
I think in comparison to the U.S.,
Okay.
it's just can you change the language on the machine?
I'm sure you can.
I hope
When
you
does
can.
the Switch 2 come out in Mexico? Ooh, AI. Mexico before mid 2025.
June. It's just universal June.
Oh, they're planning events in different cities around the world, including Latin American countries like Mexico, to test the console.
Ooh.
Interesting.
We'll have to do more research. All right.
Wait, here's an article.
Oh.
Nintendo Switch 2 releasing in Mexico on June 5th for, let's see here, 13,600 individual, 14,900 bundle. That's seven. Listen to that. All right, we always talk about this. Electronics, you're going to pay $200 to $300 more
In Mexico.
in Mexico for this thing. All right. For like, I'm using a MacBook Pro. If this MacBook Pro cost me $2,000 in the United States, it's going to cost me $3,500 in Mexico.
Okay.
All right. All electronics are super because of the tariffs that Mexico puts on electronics from other countries. Just really, really expensive. So if you ever come to Mexico and you're going to spend a lot of time down here and you're thinking, I'll just go to the Apple store down here or go to a store down here somewhere and buy my computer, my phone, or my console. Like we priced the PlayStation 5 the other day.
Yep.
And it was what? $300 to $400 more.
More,
It was
yeah.
$400 more in Mexico than it is in the United States. All right?
So electronics here are hard to buy.
Yeah. So just buy your electronics, open them up, take them out of the box. Don't bring the box with you because people are going to think you're smuggling them in to sell. All right?
Wait, but why don't we just have the other one do that? We just have them take it out of the box
We
and
could.
keep it nice and wrapped and like
Could.
take like a t-shirt.
He's a little clumsy. He is clumsy.
We get a case for it.
He's a little absent-minded.
Get like a computer case for it.
Okay?
We could do this. All right, but anyways.
Anyways, all right.
That's enough of the Switch.
Enough of the Switch. For the last few minutes, let's talk about the thing that we did this weekend.
Watch WrestleMania.
We watched WrestleMania.
That's right, boys.
It kind of sucked.
Kind of.
I mean, I was at one of the best WrestleManias I think I've ever seen. I was 31.
31. Yeah, that was a great one.
That was an awesome one. I've watched every WrestleMania since its inception. And so
I've not been alive for that long, so I can't say that.
it was one of the most WrestleManias, and the ending sucked. And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson came out on the Pat McAfee show today, and because The Rock didn't show up, The Rock was there at the Elimination Chamber, all the other and said, "I'm sort of like the catalyst for John Cena turning heel, turning bad guy, for him becoming 17 champion, going against Cody Rhodes." But then The Rock doesn't show up to finish any type of. It's kind of like what did that mean?
It felt like a bad ending.
Yeah, it was
to
a
the
really
story.
bad. Well, he says in this interview with Pat McAfee, I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get copyrighted, is that that the company called him up, TKO board, called him up and said, "We're not selling enough tickets for ticket sales are slow for Elimination Chamber, so we need you to do a few things." So because of him, Elimination Chamber sold out. All right, because of him, he had to go save the company. All right, they didn't have good enough creative. It's basically the whole interview. He kind of buries everyone else, and he's like the savior. And I don't buy it. I think this is all The Rock being, and he's like, I didn't want to show up at WrestleMania and take the spotlight off John and Cody. Wait a minute, you not showing up at WrestleMania was going to take the spotlight off John and Cody.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be like, where's The Rock? That's the only question people were going to have at the end of that pay-per-view. It wasn't like, what's going to happen with John Cena in the title? What's going to happen with Cody Rhodes? What's going to happen next week, next night at Raw? No, the only question was, where's The Rock? That's all anybody cared about, right?
Pretty much.
And so you did take the
I
spotlight.
mean, I asked that. I mean, the spoiler warning here for WrestleMania, if you didn't watch it and you want to rewatch it, you might want to get off the stream, go watch that, and then you can come back. Travis Scott, who was there at the Elimination Chamber, who showed up with The Rock.
Travis Scott, who looks like he weighs about $105, soaking wet.
Wow. Showed up
from Houston, great rapper. I got nothing against Travis Scott.
Showed up, and I was thinking, oh, okay, here's Travis. The Rock must be coming along in like a moment.
Yeah.
And
of course, Travis Scott takes his Undertaker style walk. It's like so slow walking to the ring. I'm like, man, no one wants to see your ass at WrestleMania. Take your sweet ass time, walk down the ring. Get down there, do what you got to do. Believe me, most wrestling fans don't give a shit about Travis Scott. Anyways, go ahead.
I would argue maybe not. He's a very popular guy.
He's a very popular guy. Yes.
Very popular guy.
But when it comes to wrestling, people...
When it comes to wrestling, they were waiting for The Rock.
Yeah.
To show up because they saw Travis and they thought, oh, The Rock must be there. And when The Rock didn't show up and you just had Travis go in there, it was like, okay.
Yeah. You know? I'm a huge fan of The Rock as a wrestler. I like a lot of his movies. I got nothing against. I think sometimes though he's so interested in protecting his image, man. Just come out and say, listen, this was a bad build up to a WrestleMania. It was a poor WrestleMania card. Most of the matches you could have been like whatever about and not even had, and no one would care, right? They don't really. It was just creatively.
Yeah.
Going off of 40, WrestleMania 40 last year in Philadelphia, one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. It may be the greatest ending to a WrestleMania of all time.
Yeah.
Right? It had incredible build-up, incredible creative. This one, the exact opposite.
Yeah. This one felt they didn't know what to do.
Yeah. And even the WrestleMania I went to, 31, horrible build-up, horrible storylines thrown together really last minute. But it turned out they executed a great set of matches, great card, great action, and then within the WrestleMania event itself, great storytelling. By the way, one night only. Do they really need 2 nights? I don't know. But anyways,
no, 2 nights I think is fine. I think 2 nights is good.
I think 2 nights is problematic because you're trying to put too much stuff on there that maybe people don't care about. You're trying to include things. But the reason I like 2 nights is because WrestleMania payday, like you get paid as a wrestler, you get a paycheck for pay-per-views. If you're on a pay-per-view, you get a separate paycheck. It's sort of like a bonus pay-per-view paycheck. So the wrestlers who are busting their asses, they don't get, like, there's been so many great wrestlers who don't get a chance to go to WrestleMania and get that paycheck, right? That increased bonus, right? Now with 2 nights, I think that's the cool thing is that they do get that bonus check. But here they got to do a better job. And I didn't like The Rock's explanation of anything that he did or why he did it.
I mean, my idea for how to build it up from the Royal Rumble, I told you what I would do for a plan. It was great.
Yeah,
I think I liked my plan better. I would have had John or Punk. I probably would have had Punk win the Rumble. Mm-hmm. John win the Elimination Chamber. You would have had Punk, Cody Rhodes. For the main event, which made more sense because it felt like that's the direction they were moving with Punk kind of like, hey, everyone's going to be after you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone the Rollins direction with Punk. That wasn't needed. You already settled that in a match prior to the Rumble. It was just not needed.
They had dog collar match, had cage match.
Exactly. And so I was like, no, we don't need that not anymore. That angle's over, right?
Yep.
And you could have done a Rollins Reigns grudge match, and that could have been really cool because it ties back to the last WrestleMania.
Yep.
Who screwed him over? Rollins. Getting involved. Yeah. And you could have had him you could have had the whole incident at the Royal Rumble, right, that you had, him getting eliminated and assaulting Reigns. Kind of build that up during the whole kind of WrestleMania season.
Yeah.
Cena wins the chamber. Cena challenges Gunther, right? Kind of give Gunther a chance to kind of move away from the basic kind of, oh, I'm just a bad guy.
Yeah. Now they got Gunther fighting with Pat McAfee. It's like, okay, what the
Yeah,
hell?
exactly. That's my point. It would have been way better if you had Gunther maybe turn a little, maybe not full like good guy, but like anti-heel, you know what I mean? Like an anti-hero.
Yeah. Well, The Rock goes on here. I mean, I think there were so many better ideas. The whole idea of, sell your soul. The Rock wants Cody to sell his soul. And no one knows what the hell that means. To this day, still no one knows what it means. So he goes,
the promise got wasted with the ring. I feel like the Heyman promise, that was a waste.
So here's what The Rock says. It was a litmus test to find out, in my opinion, how will fans respond if Cody sold his soul to the final boss. Let's get a temperature check on this. Let's establish it. Let's anchor it in. And you come to find out that there were a lot of fans who were saying, sell your soul, Johnson said. He goes, I was an advocate for that. Not turning Cody heel soon, but eventually down the line. I like the idea of that because Cody's a smart guy. He's an intelligent guy. He's a ring general. And I think this idea of you give him a reason to turn way down the road, by the way, not based on titles, not based on this, but it's his soul and what that means. That affects generations. It's transcended beyond pro wrestling and fans were loving it. No, they weren't. I cannot find one fan who said, I really like that angle.
It came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
if you built it up, it could have been maybe cool. You know what I mean? It had Cody turn heel, Mania or something.
So, however, he does go on to say, The Rock also admitted that creatively he would have, quote, finessed things a little bit differently for the criticized main event. So he's throwing Hunter under the bus there. He's throwing creative at WWE under the bus.
But to be fair, I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
Creative fucked up.
But no offense, he was there. It was his idea to do all this shit. He goes on and said, it was my idea. I went to Triple H and blah, blah. He goes, it was his idea.
Okay. Well, then never mind. You don't have the right to really throw people under the bus then.
So, yeah, he shouldn't be. And yeah. He goes, I don't want to be involved in it. Step back. Let the final boss step back into the shadows. Let all the spotlight go to John. Let it go to Cody. Let's not make it about Cody's soul eventually or John's soul. No, let's let them do what they do. But that's the thing. You already set that whole thing up and then just left it there like a big old. You just basically came in a ring, took a giant steaming dump, left a big steaming turd, and said, yeah, no one cleaned it up. No one's going to clean it up.
Same thing with the Heyman promise. They kept building it up and turning it up. I'm going to just take your wise man from you. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I was kind of disappointed because what I was hoping for instead was, okay, Punk lost the Rumble, right? He's in the match with Cena.
Yeah.
Rollins is in there. Maybe Cena gets eliminated by Rollins or Punk. Rollins versus Punk for like the last two, and you have Roman Reigns come in. That's the favor.
Yeah.
That would have been a way more and then there you go. Punk is in the main event.
Yeah.
For the title.
So
way more satisfying.
And here we go. This article I think says something really well. The Rock, who said, I just wanted the spotlight to be on Cody and John Cena. Then why the hell do you have Travis Scott out there?
Yeah,
to interfere.
Random.
All right? Randomly interfere. Okay. Anyway, so WrestleMania, there were some really good matches. I don't want to say there weren't, everything was a stinker. There were some really good matches. But overall, man, this thing is a PR nightmare for WWE because, man, no one likes the new champion in Jey Uso. No one likes the ending of WrestleMania. No one likes WrestleMania. It's your premiere. Like, that's your show. It's like saying the Super Bowl shit the bed.
I think people are fine with Cena winning it. I don't think people would have had a problem with Cena winning it.
No, but I think the way in which the whole storyline
The whole storyline.
They should have just had Cena do it himself.
Yeah.
Turn heel, do it himself. Keep The Rock out.
You didn't need you didn't need The Rock to turn.
I mean, Cena's he is literally one of the greatest of all time. He can handle a heel turn on his own.
Yeah, he doesn't need a reason.
Yeah, I mean,
from The Rock.
And what they're saying is it's the greatest story. Rock says it's the greatest storyline in wrestling since Hogan turned heel. No, it's not. First of all, when Hogan turned heel, that was a surprise. That was a big freaking deal. I was there. I saw it. It's just watching it. But there have been other great storylines. This is not the greatest storyline. It's been messed up. And I don't know how WWE gets out of it. But anyways.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to get out of this one.
We've been holding on to that one for a little bit. Since we saw it, we've just been like,
trying to figure out how you can make it better.
Yeah.
Or how would you change it. I think I had a way better idea.
Yeah. So, but anyways.
Okay. Hey, WWE Creative, give me a call. I'll fix it for you. Maybe a nice paycheck, though.
I'm not sure how much those guys get paid.
I don't know.
I'm sure they make some good cash now. I mean, it's a billion-dollar corporation.
I imagine.
I mean, back in the day, you could get fired on a whim if Vince didn't like the way you spelled your name. It's just...
Damn.
Yeah, Vince was terrible to work for. But anyways, that's about it. From south of the border, All right, you got stuff to do. I got stuff to do. We got lots of work to do. We're really glad if you joined in, if you commented, if you share, you liked the video. Subscribe if you like it. We do this 5 times a week, and we're still getting our schedule a little bit right here with everything going on. We got a lot of new stuff going on, so accommodating you, accommodating me. I'm also married, so I have to accommodate my wife. You know, I have to hang out with my wife.
Any suggestions for like maybe that this time doesn't work for you guys? Maybe you guys want a different time. Write it down in the comments.
Yeah. Let us know what time is best for everybody else.
Make a poll. We should make a poll.
Yeah.
For times.
Yeah, we should.
We'll make it all based on like either Eastern or Central Standard Time.
Yeah, that works.
That works.
Yeah, it's so weird because the time doesn't change down here.
Yeah.
The clocks don't change down here, but they do in the United States, so it's weird. But anyways, with that, we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go have some dinner. I don't know about you. You hungry?
I think so.
All right, we're gonna go eat.
Well, yeah, do that and some work. So.
And do some work. We got a lot of work. I got a comic book video to finish, and but that's it. From south of the border, I'm still your reluctant Gringo. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you check us back in on Thursday. Salud, a huevo.
Adios.
We're gonna get out of here.
You a racist? Do you hate Mexicans?
So long, gay boys!